Okay, well, welcome everybody to this meeting of the virtual CICS user group. Move my slide forward. I'm Trevor Eddles, and I'm CEO of a company called iTechEd Limited. We're a mainframe consultancy, analysis, and technical authoring organization. Just so you know, I've been chairing these user group meetings for CICS, IMS, and DB2. For the first one was in 2007. So I've done all of those meetings, and I've decided that it would be a good idea to share the hosting of the groups to introduce some fresh new faces. So I'd like to welcome the first of these new co-hosts, Amanda Henley, who you may know from her time at Computer Measurement Group. So welcome, Amanda. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Trevor. I'm excited to be here and get to collaborate with this community.
Right. Yes, and on another positive note, you'll see we've got another new sponsor. The user group have always been about sharing mainframe education, information, and spreading knowledge in general. And we felt there was a certain synergy between what we're doing and what Planet Mainframe is doing. So today we're pleased to announce that we're joining marketing forces to help co-promote the user groups and our respective resources and reach a wider audience. Planet Mainframe will help us both promote this user group and help us to continue to support and build this mainframe community. Okay, Amanda, then, would you like to carry on? Let me stop sharing and you can start.
Sure, let me pull up my screen. All right, I think everyone can see my screen now.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Great. So for a quick agenda today, we are going to kick off the meeting with our presentation. We'll have some time for Q&A after that session, so please do think about your questions for Colin. You can put them in the chat in Zoom. And then we're going to talk about news, articles, and blogs, and upcoming events. So sound fair? So let's get started. The first thing I want to do is thank the partners for the virtual CICS user group. We've got IntelliMagic, Broadcom Mainframe Software, Data Kinetics, and Planet Mainframe sponsoring today. So thank you to those partners. You can find out more about them at the virtual CICS landing page if you're interested in following up. And now we're ready for our presentation. So we're going to kick it off with Colin Pearce. He's going to be talking about how to define CICS Maintained Data Tables to the Coupling Facility Resource Manager. As always, after the session, a copy of the slides will be made available to you, and we are recording today, so you're going to have access to that recording posted on YouTube after the event. And as I mentioned, if you have any questions for today, put them in the chat and we'll get to them. I think today's presentation is going to be about 45 minutes, so expect to have a little bit of time at the end for those questions. So now on to today's session. So Colin Pearce joins us, as I mentioned. He's been a ZOS and CICS systems programmer for over 30 years, and he's been teaching for more than 25 years. He has installed CICS and related software many times and is well-versed in the application side of CICS using command level and with CICS debugging and on the transaction level. He's developed many CICS courses, including CICS for systems programmers. And there is a great list of version 6.1 compliant courses that he published recently over on Planet Mainframe, if you want to check that out. So in addition to his CICS expertise, Colin is well-versed in ZOS, vSAM, Assembler, COBOL, and much more. So Colin, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to pass control over to you.
Thank you, Amanda.
And
so I'll stop the screen share here. Okay. And hopefully you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this is going to be about when we define a CICS maintained data table, we specify it to the file that's defined to the resource definition online file, which is the CSD. Let me sign on here. I'm going to be using CICS TS 6.1 here, and so we'll just sign on with my user ID and password. You should, if you know CICS, you should know this panel, so there shouldn't be any. What I'll do, I need to move this out of the way so I can do a clear. Okay, and then if I'll just to let you know that I'm doing a CMT inquire on CIS, and you can see that we're using CICS level 6.1 here. Okay, I built this system, I guess, about 3-4 months ago, and so it's been very good. So that's where we're at, just to sort of give you a point of where we're doing. So what I want to do now is to clear and then do a CDA expand on group, and I want to do a file A group, and I just want to have a look at this one, file A. So we start off when we're thinking of defining our CICS maintained data table. We start off by, I'm going to just go forward here, and you can see here that halfway down we've got the data table parameters, where we have a table here. And normally we would have a CICS file that was just open, and we would allocate maybe local shared resource buffers to it and that. But then we say to ourselves, you know, a CICS maintained data table might be quite nice, you know. So I can specify here alongside table, I can say CICS here, and I can say a no limit on the number of records. And what that will do is when CICS comes up, it'll open the file, and let's imagine that it's a key sequence data set, a key sequence VSAM data set, and you know, which is what 80% of application data sets are. And when CICS comes up, it will open this file and load it into a data space. Now, a data space is 2 gigabytes of pure data, and CICS can support 100 of these. So 100 times 2 gig will give you an idea of how much space CICS can actually manage. So really, you know, CICS maintained data tables, you know, are excellent because they're fully API, and so you can still do your reads and read updates, you can still do your writes, you can still do your browsing, all those things that we know from the API. And CICS will then, you know, asynchronously update the source file with any changes that we've made. And that way then we're using then data space for the data tables. And the great thing about a data space is that it's just an address space, but it has no programs in it. It just has data in it. And of course, the fastest way to get between 2 address spaces is using cross-memory services. And cross-memory services is used when we want to send data backwards and forwards between a data space and the address space where CICS is residing. So it makes it very convenient and quick to do that. And I would always encourage people to investigate, to begin with, if they want to get the best out of, you know, 1 or more VSAM files, to look at CICS maintained data tables. You can also do user, of course. That tends to suit more entry sequence data sets or VSAM data sets that you just want sort of read and browse. But if you're into wanting to do everything, then specifying CICS here would do it for us. Then when CICS comes up, then it will open the file and you'll get messages sent to message user about loading the file and making it available. So that's good. And we can also have shared data tables. We can have other CICS regions who have definitions of this file as remote to their FCT entries, their file control entries. And so they can they can then link into this data space, and then we have what we call shared data tables. That's very good, but the problem with that is that they're still using function shipping to get from one CICS region to another CICS region. So it's just like you have your normal file owning region where you're reading a record from a remote file owning region, and you're using the mirror task to go and read that record. If you're doing it via shared data tables, then of course you're still using the same criteria, but it's going to be much faster. File owning regions are always tend to be slow because we've got the mirror task, which is a very good part of the process, but it still still takes up a bit of time. Just as an aside, I would suggest that if you've got a cupping facility and you don't use record level sharing, I would get that defined to the CFRM, the cupping facility resource manager, so that you can start to share your files outside between multiple CICS Plex regions and outside of the file owning region. So we look at our data table and we say, oh, this is great. Look at the speed. This is terrific. And you really get some good statistics out of this, and then you say to yourself, yeah, but the problem with this is that anything that's cross memory services is then the limit is the LPAR. So if I've got LPAR 1, LPAR 2, LPAR 3 and more in my Sysplex, then I'm really only I really only have that file available to me in the first LPAR, because cross memory services is LPAR level. And so although I can have the shared data tables across, they're still using function shipping to get to my data space. And so we say, I really like this I really like this cross memory services. It really works out good. We get some good feedback in that. We meet service level agreements, so the business is very happy. Oh, what I want is the same thing, but I want it to go across multiple LPARs. I want to be able to use essentially the kind of cross memory services, but have the same impact, but not be sort of limited to an individual LPAR. I want to be able to run that anywhere. How do I do that? And if you have a cupping facility, then the answer is yes. Yes, you can do that. So this will really help those who are looking towards, maybe taking it away from the CICS here and then putting a CF, a cupping facility here in the same input here. But you'll actually need two other parameters here. You need to specify a pool name, because you're going to have to create a structure, and each file that you want to be part of the cupping facility, you'll have a different pool name. And so you need to sort of work out some standards here as to what you're going to use and how you're going to use them. So the CFDD pool name you would specify here, and you'll see how this links up to the structure name that we defined to the cupping facility resource manager. You also need a table name here. The table name then is also specified in terms of the process. But once we've got that sorted out here, then we can move on to the way we're going to communicate to the cupping facility. Because when we define the structure, which includes the pool name, the CFDD pool name, we're really just giving it a name. We're just saying that this is what we want, because a structure is really like a data set. It's the way we want to use the space where the structure occupies. So we don't tell the structure how it's going to be used when we define it. It's up to the exploiter, it's up to the user of that structure when it communicates and joins that structure to decide how it's going to be used. So more about the structure in a little while. So a CFDT pool your table name. You can leave update model to locking because you will probably load, you'll probably need some locking capabilities in the cupping facility if you're going to use your CICS maintained data access through the CICS command level. All right, so that's what we have there. Let's move on to this one. And hopefully you can see my screen. Do let me know. I will stop share and just come across just in case you can't see it, because sometimes Zoom doesn't follow. Okay, so what we've got here then is this is out of one of my courses. This is out of my performance and tuning course. And you can see here a little bit more on the cupping facility. We're now going to focus on that now. So we've made our changes to that file in the FCT. We've installed that file now. Let's do CDA install. And we come here and you can see here that we have the application coming from the AORs, the application owning regions. Okay, so we move down to file control. We do the CFDD code and we move into the pool server. We're going to have a look at the server in a moment, so you know what that looks like. So we have multiple pool servers because we probably have multiple files. So because we specify the part of the structure name, if I can just go down a little bit, you can see that towards the bottom, you see CFDD pool, which is what we looked at. You can see the table name and the fact that we put a CF alongside the no, we overlaid that with CF. Okay, so I would need a different pool name for each file that wants to take part in the cupping facility in the CF. So and I would also need a different server each time as well. And I'll show you what the server looks like as we go through. Okay, so there's two communication types that access the cupping facility. One is XCF messaging, and we should be much aware of XCF and how brilliant it is to find CICS regions in the sysplex, no matter where they are. So when you define your connection sessions and you specify MRO, then you know that'll use XCF to get to the destination, no matter where it is within the sysplex. So XCF is the messaging component, and XES, that's an X, and then E for England and S for sugar, for want of a better description. XES is the communication process between the server and the cupping facility. So that particular module or program that's doing that will need to be authorized. So it'll need to come out of APF in ZOS. So it'll need to be authorized. And also it issues authorized macros that can talk to the cupping facility through extended services. So cross-coupling extended services is XES. Now, we don't get to see that because that's kind of really low level. You get to sort of see XCF because you can sort of touch it better, because you know you're going between CICS regions. So although that's still not tangible, it's a little bit more tangible than what XES is. So XES then is the communication between the server and the CF. So it handles requests going down to the CF, no matter where those requests come from, no matter what structure it comes from. Each access would have a slightly different structure. So if I'm, for example, GRS, then I would have a different way to get to the CF. I would be using star mode, and I'd go down to the cupping facility, and I would have a structure there called ISG lock. And so that would tell GRS who's got that particular resource. Okay, so it depends on what the server name is as to how it talks to the cupping facility. But in a sense, it must use cross-coupling extended services. Let's go down and have a look at the JCL for this. I'm just going to go forward here. Okay, and we'll have a look at. There are some limitations with doing this. Your limitation to 16 bytes of keys, well, that would cover most key sequence data sets. But I think with every new release of CICS, we can go and have a look at this to see if it's changed. Not as fast as look-asides, because you're still in essentially the same region, but it's globally shareable. And that's what I think people are looking for. Can I have the kind of access to a data space? Can I have it across the sysplex? And so the supplied CICS pool server program is DFH CFMN. Okay, so if we have a look at that, it comes from a data set that we know very well. It comes from SDFH auth. Of course, this has to be authorized, but it should be because you're running DFH SIP from it. So if it's not authorized, or if any data set in the step lib is not authorized, then it'll fall over. But let's have a look at the JCL. I'll just go forward slowly. So this is the JCL for your server program. So DFH CFMN, you can specify a pretty large region size, time no limit because you're going to start it up. I would get automation to start it, probably at IPL time. You can start it there because you can stop it, and I'll show you how to do that. But you can see here that we've got SDFH auth, and we've got the license certificate here in CICS 6.1 here. You can see we've got the function is server, and we've got the pool name. Now, this is the same pool name that we specified to the CFDT pool name in that file. So there's three places where we need to specify this. One is the file entry itself. One is in this job, so that this job knows which pool it's going to be looking for. Okay. And you can specify up to 100 tables. What I would do, I'd probably start small. Don't bite off more than you can chew in this, but just give yourself a little bit of chance to work out how many data tables. I'd start with one and just move it on from there. So you can run this as a started task, and CICS will find it, and you've got then what you need in terms of the server process there. If we go forward, just some things about it. Okay, once you've built the structure, and I'll show you what the structure looks like in the next screen. Actually, in the one after, you can display XCF, str, structure name equals, and then DFH CFLS underscore the pool name, whatever the pool name is. And so that will list the pool name, or sorry, that will list the structure name. And so you can get a feel for what the structure names are looking like. And if you've got some kind of standard where maybe the pool name also includes something to do with a file, then you can look at that particular structure and know which file within the CICS system is actually using the structure to access that file using the coupling facility. All right, so D space XCF, str, structure name equals DFH CFLS, and then underscore whatever the pool name is. As we go forward, there may be a reason why you want to stop it or cancel it. You can do that. F job name, the space stop, or F job name space cancel. You might be testing it out, or it might be the end of the day, or it might be part of you're bringing the IPL, bringing the ZOS system down, and you want to stop it, and that way you want to then have that control over it. So that can come out of automation, of course, or that can come out of a manual approach, as long as you can do the modify command. Okay, so that gives you then how you control it. All right, so from an access point of view. So you get that. I'll just show you once more before we leave the screen. So here's our JCL. Okay, DFH CFMN, region size, no limit. Obviously, if you're going to bring it up, then bring it up with time of no limit, like you would bring up your CICS region. And that way, then you've got then the ability here to work out what pool name you're going to utilize here. Let's have a look at what the structure looks like. Okay, so I'm going now to do this one, and hopefully you can see that. Okay, so I'm just going to go up a little bit because the data table structure is towards the bottom here. Okay, so the headings here, this comes from an IBM course, so I can't send you this, but I can send you the details of this as part of the information I'm going to send to Trevor, so you can access it probably tomorrow. Now I'll have that available to you, so if you just wait 24 hours, it should be available. So you can see XCF has a structure name. As long as IXC is the first 3 characters, the next 4 can be anything that you like. And as we come down, you can see some of the things that you're familiar with. GS2 checkpoint, RACF, GRS star, I've mentioned, workload manager, VTAM generic naming. So you've got your terminal owning regions all set up here. DB2, IMS, all the way down. And then we've got the CICS data tables. Okay, so you see the data tables here. So our structure name would be DFH CFLS underscore, then the pool name. So now we link the file control definition with the server program definition that's going to talk to the coupling facility with the structure name. And then all we have to do, well, there's actually a couple of things we have to do, but really the main thing we have to do is then define this structure to the coupling facility resource manager, or the CFRM. Okay, and I'm going to show you some JCL to do that as we go through here. Now, remember, there are 3 types of structures. There's a list structure, there's a cache structure, and there's a lock structure. So depending on who you are is the way you'll use this particular structure. You can see, we can see at the bottom, we've got VSAM record level sharing. Some exploiters have 2 structures, and so record level sharing has a cache structure and a lock structure. You would anticipate that it would have a lock structure because we're locking VSAM records for who wants to use record level sharing. So we have two structures here, just to give you an idea of what it is. So it's whoever is using the structure as to the way they're going to use it. All right. So your next task is to go up to the ZOS system programmer and say, oh, I would like to put a data table down on the coupling facility. So his first response is going to be, how big is it going to be? Because he's looking after the size that's in the coupling facility. He wants to make sure you're not going to take over it, so that there's no space for anything else. So you may have 2 or 3 or 4 internal coupling facilities that all know about each other through the communication, the ICF communication. But he's going to want to know, how much space are you taking up? So you're going to have to come up with some way of deciding of how much space it is. And so luckily, IBM helps us here. And let me show you how it helps us. I'm going to go into my online, and here I'm going to go into, let me just get rid of this screen because it's getting in the way. So I'll just stop the share. Sorry about that, but I'll just stop the share so I can do my things. Okay. So here I'm going to share the screen again. Okay, so just give me a second and I'll share it again for you. Where are we? This one and this one. Okay, so I'm going to now look at, I want to look at what IBM provide as a CF sizer. If I type in CF sizer here and hit enter, it will come up and it'll say to me, oh, okay, you want to know how much space that your particular structure is going to need on the coupling facility. So you can see CF sizer here. Okay. And so if we look at that, if I click on this one, it'll go to IBM's, hopefully. I did check this out, so it should work. So come on down, all right. And obviously every user of the coupling facility can go through the same process. So you see it says select CF sizer page, choose one. We'll just do the drop down and just select the one you want. In our case, it's going to be CICS, CICS. So I click on this one. Okay, and it takes a little bit of while, a few seconds just to refresh. Okay, then what you do, you come all the way down. Okay, come all the way down, and all the CICS potential structures are listed here. Okay, so you can see here the data tables list structure. It's the third one down. Okay, so now what you can do, you can actually type in information as you know it by what the file is. You know, the number of tables and number of record size, the total number of records, what's the target usage percentage, and what you're going to be your maximum expansion percent. Now, you know, some of the time you may not have all the numbers, but I always feel you've got to start somewhere. And so what I would do is then just put in what you think is going to happen. You may need to talk to your applications group. You may need to talk to someone who knows the file better than you do, because they're in that project, so they know the kind of size it is. You may even go to a listcat of this data set and just have a look and see how many records are on the file, just to build up your knowledge of what's there, you know, so at least you can give yourself a ballpark figure. Okay, so once you've typed in your numbers here, then you can just go to the bottom. Let me just move my cursor over here. Then you can go to the bottom. Let me just do that. And you can just say submit. And that will submit your numbers. It'll come back within, you know, probably a few seconds, maybe half a minute. It's very quick. And it will give you what the CF is needed to actually be able to deal with those numbers within your data table. Okay, now you can run this whenever you want to. You don't have to wait for a particular, if I come all the way back up again, you don't have to wait for a particular time to do it. It's the third one down. Remember, just a bit more. Here we are. You don't have to wait. Just do it anytime you like, just to play with it, get familiar with how it works. Like I say, you don't have to wait till you're about to do it. Play with it, just see what you get back. And, you know, go to the listcat and play with it again. You might need to run this a few times to sort of marry up what you're specifying here with what the listcat is showing you and what project leaders or whoever's dealing with that file is telling you. So get information, then, then you go to the ZOS system program. And when he says, oh, how much space you're going to take, then you can tell him, you know, based on the numbers that IBM have given you for the CF sizer, you can give him, you know, a good number of or a good amount of space that he's going to take up. And then, of course, he can say yes or no, depending on how he's finding that, you know. So, I mean, but, you know, like I say, you know, do it a number of times, get familiar with it, know how it works, because temporary storage can go here as well. So you're not only limited to the data table structure, but once you've got that sorted out, then you can say to the ZOS system programmer, yeah, okay, well then I need this amount of space, and he can say yes or no based on his own knowledge of the cupping facilities, how many there are, what you want to use, how important it is. You know, I mean, there's a whole factor of things he needs to think about in order to make this right. Okay, so once you've got that done, then you need to go to, I'll just stop the share and make sure you can see this one as well. It's this one. So now you need to run the XCF administration utility to update the CFRM. Okay, and so you can see here the utility is IXCMIAPU, and as we work down the JCL, you can see the data type is CFRM. Report yes, because you want to see what happens. You must name the policy. Now, one would think that you're probably, as a CICS systems programmer, you're probably not running this. You're probably looking over the ZOS system programmer's shoulder to see how he's running it. So he will know what the policy is, because all the structures preceding yours are in this policy. And so we're going to have to rebuild it when you put when you add your structure in. Now you can see here, I've given you some sort of ideas of what you've got here. You've got the CF name, the coupling facility name. Now these couple of inputs here, you can see FACIL01 and 02. This is the coupling facility name as is known to the system. So if you've got two CFs, one is called FACIL01 and one's called FACIL02. Okay. Now, as you can see, you would run these two the very first time you're going to update the CFRM. You don't run them any other time, because what these do, they basically give what we call the machine and plant information about the CF, so it knows who it is that's talking to it. It's kind of an initialization type process there. Okay. And then as you come down, although I haven't updated it here, this is where you would say your list name. So in here, you would specify then your DFH CLS underscore. All right, if I do it like this, underscore, and then your pool name. Okay, so this is what you would put here. And then you've got to work out what your size is. And if you've told your ZOS system programmer this is the size, then he's going to put a size here. And he's going to do initial size, minimum size. He's going to play with the numbers to make sure that it fits in with his criteria. And then you're going to have a number of it. You may not have these. You may not have these there. All right, because these affect different allocations within the CFRM. But you will have things, so I can go forward a little bit here. You will have two. One's called a preference list, and one's called an exclusion list. Let me just up that. So one's called a preference list, and one's called an exclusion list. Now, let me just try and bring that up a bit more for you. The preference list is what order do you want your data table, all right, your CICS maintained data table that's now on the CF, what order of CFs do you want it located in? You know, do you want it in essentially CF1 first and then CF2? Or if you've got 3 or 4 CFs, internal CF, remember each one takes up an LPAR. You can only have 15 LPARs per logical channel subsystem. So you've got to be a little bit careful, but you can have six of those. So, you know, you've got 6 times 15. So remember with the Z14, Z15, you've got 85 LPAR maximum, the same with the Z16 as well. So whatever you specified in HCD for your logical channel subsystem, then you have a number of LPARs you can specify, of which some can be the coupling facility. And of course, then they're loaded through the HMC. Okay, so you specify how you want them loaded. And what you would generally do is to say, for one structure, I'll have it this way. I'll have CF1 first and then CF2. And then from another structure, you know, I'll have CF2 and then CF1. You know, really, this is something that whoever's looking after this coupling facility or these coupling facilities then would have this kind of activity going on, this kind of specification going on. And so they would need to be able to make sure that it's in the right format that helps then their processing. Because obviously, you know, if we lose a coupling facility, perish the thought, that would then impact on your data table. Okay, but once it's loaded, once CICS comes up, it goes to the file control table. It sees the coupling facility in that file. It then sees the pool name. The server name should already be up. We've defined the structure, including that server name, including the pool name. So the fact that it's a function server, the pool name, and then of course it marries them together. And so we're able then to use the already existing server program, which I've shown you, the DFH CFMN, all right, to actually calls then the access between CICS via the server program down to the coupling facility. This is not unlike the way CICS talks to an RLS file. it just talks to it through the SMS vSAM address space. Really the server just becomes the server. DFH CFMN is just an address space. So whether you go via SMS vSAM for RLS, or whether you go via DFH CFMN for your server program, really the output is the same. They're going to use cross system extended services to talk to the coupling facility. Now, because we have updated the policy, because we've added a new structure into the CFRM, we have to rebuild it. Okay, we have to rebuild the policy. We have to tell CFRM to rebuild the policy. So that's just issuing a setxcf command, setxcf type equals CFRM, policy equals name, whatever the name is, and then you can rebuild it, and it can be done. And of course, if you've got another option specified called duplex, then of course we can copy changes made to one CF over to another CF, so we keep them in sync. We have changes made to one coupling facility resource manager, because you must have at least two. You've got a primary and an alternate. And of course, it's best if you have three, because if you take the primary offline, the alternate, you do a P switch and you can make the alternate the primary and then bring in a spare. So you've got then that ability to have that spare as an alternate. So therefore, you don't lose connectivity, you don't lose access to the coupling facility, because perish the thought, if you lose a coupling facility, then you're in real trouble. So the more you can build resilience into your CF, into your access, then you can rely upon the structure that you've created or the ZOS system programmer has created to basically make sure that you've got access to that data table through the CFRM. And so CICS will connect. CICS is the exploiter, all right? The DFH CLS underscore pool name, then that becomes then the structure name. When CICS connects to it, it will create a list type structure, and then we just allow it to look after itself. You know, that to try and find out what it's doing down there is not really for us. As long as we know it's connected, as long as we know we can list it, you can do a list of the CFRM, you can do a DXCF, and I showed you that. DXCF, comma, str, comma, structure name equals, and then you can specify the structure name just to make sure it looks okay. You can just do a DXCF, comma, str, comma, all, and it'll list that, but it'll list every other structure too. So if you have more than one data table down on the coupling facility, then it will list all of those that are there. So you, as CICS system programmers, you need to keep track of it. You need to make sure it's doing what you want. You need to make sure you're still maintaining service level agreements. So talk to your performance people, make sure all that is in place, and you should find that it works very well. I don't think it's really meant for humongous type of files. You know, I don't know what the kind of middle ground is for files. That may depend on how much space you've got in your coupling facility. You'll need then to be advised by the ZOS systems programmer, and just make sure that you've got what is needed. But if your file is too big, the ZOS system programmer may say, well, even with the numbers that you've given me from the CF sizer, that's not going to work. Because when I build my coupling facility the first time, if you can see here, can you see the dump space here? When I build it the first time, we like to leave around 5% of the coupling facility for dumping activity that goes on. So he's always very keen about that. He knows who is using that. And I've shown you the list of structures. There's many of them. DB2 is going to be using it. IMS, if you've got that, workload manager, RACF, they all want to join in with the CFRM structure definitions within the policy name. So you'll just be another structure in that, being able to use that space. Okay, so just to help you off there. So hopefully that's given you an insight. All right, so file control, CF, pool name, the server name, I've given the JCL, that will be in the slides or the information that I send through to Trevor probably, I'll do it tomorrow. So it's available within 24 hours. And then go to CF all right, type in CF and then drop down kicks, come to your data table, play with the numbers. You may need to do a list cat, but play with the numbers, submit it and get it back. And if you're comfortable with what you're seeing, and you may even run them by the project guy in charge of that, you might, yeah, they look good. Okay, so there you can go to a ZOS system program. He can create DFH, he can create IXCMIAPU, the administration utility, update the CFRM, and then do a rebuild, and you should be fine. And then just do a DXCF to make sure it all looks okay. All right. So that's really my talk for today, just to take you through the steps of that. There's just one other thing I wanted to show you just before I leave, and that is this one. I hope Trevor doesn't mind. I'll just do I've just got here the courses that are available. Now, I've written all these courses. They're all updated for 6.1. There's a CICS Fundamental. You can see the number of days. CICS Assist Progs. That's kind of like a system administration course. We cover a number of different things here. Internals and workshops.
We can't see your screen, Colin.
Oh, I thought I had done that. Okay,
Not sharing.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me just do this one. How's that? So CICS Fundamentals, 5 days. System Programming, 5 days. Command level programming. So we teach you how to code COBOL applications. CICS Internals. We'll go through short on storage and an NQ. I wrote a program to create a short and a storage violation. So I'll cover both of those and an NQ problem in the internals. So I'll show you how domains talk to each other. CICS transaction debugging will cover an ASRA, both a single program and an exec CICS link program. So I'll tell you how to find working storage. I'll also tell you how to, in a COBOL call, a static call. So we fall over in the subroutine, and I'll show you how to get back to the main program. I'll also tell you how to deal with a loop, and also the best CICS command, the API command to deal with a loop. And I think not many people understand it, but if you use this, your loop will be very easy to understand. And then the same with performance and tuning. Okay, again, it's a 5-day course, and we cover all the CICS statistics, and I'll tell you what areas of CICS, failed allocates for connection sessions, look-asides for file control and LSRs, and all the different areas within statistics that you need to look for. So I'll show you how to collect statistics, how to build them, how to then report on them using the supplied utility, DFH STUP. And so all you got to do then, if you're interested in any of these, you get me to teach them. I don't know whether that's good or bad, but just go to Verhoff training. You can see the emails there. Okay, so hopefully that will give you an opportunity to see. So I'll leave that up. And I think we're just about there. I think it's 20 past 5 here in the UK. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your attendance. Much appreciated. Hope you found it useful. And I'm open to any questions that you want to ask me. So I'll have a few minutes of Q&A. Okay.
Thank you, Colin. That was great.
Okay. Thanks, Amanda.
If you do have any questions, you can drop them for Colin. And if he doesn't answer them today, we'll make sure he gets them and could follow back up with you. And let's see, we've got a couple more things to cover before we reach the end of our session. So while you're thinking of questions, we can circle back. I want to share my screen, and we've got some articles for you to check out. All right. Our first article is CICS DB2 resource, res name collection and visualization using CICS IA client. This is by Swarna G, and it's in the IBM-Z and Linux 1 community, published recently. So check that one out. And we also have Lifting the Lid on CICS Temporary Storage by Andy Wright and Darren Beard. This is an Enterprise Tech Journal first quarter issue. So 2 articles for you to check out. And I want to mention too, we'll talk about the user group in just a second.
Amanda, Amanda, may I just say something? Andy Wright has been a CICS since the mid-70s. He's absolutely brilliant. If you've got an article on him, I know Andy very well. And if you've got an article that Andy's written, you need to all haste to go and read it because it will be absolutely brilliant. So sorry, Amanda.
No, that's quite all right. Trevor, are we posting these on social media with links or anything? Can we do that?
Yes. Yeah, they're on the website and they're posted on the Facebook page and on Twitter and on the LinkedIn group as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Great. So couple of our upcoming events that we've got. So our next meeting is on July 11th. Ezreal Gross is going to be talking from Rocket Software. Problem analysis and performance tuning for CICS is our topic. Same time, same place. And then we're going to be at September 12th. And that is going to be with Broadcom's James Alexander. How to solve the problem of rapidly developing and deploying reusable CICS APIs. So 2 great sessions coming up later this year. And of course, there's the newsletter in the meantime until our next event. And this is what I wanted to do a shout out because it's a great resource. One of the sponsors, Broadcom, has created a virtual CICS user group page. There's articles, a place to ask questions and collaborate. And you can also find reminders for these user group sessions on that page as well. To access it, just go to community.broadcom.com and click register in the upper right-hand corner. And once you're in, like I said, great repository of information there. So onto social media. We've got, as Trevor mentioned, a few ways for you to grab information on Facebook as Virtual CICS, same on Twitter. Virtual CICS user group on LinkedIn. Please like, follow, subscribe on all these channels. Use the hashtag Virtual CICS, especially if you've got something you want to share with the rest of the community or you want to give us feedback on the session. Just hashtag Virtual CICS to make sure we get that information. And also, again, the YouTube channel, all the past sessions, all the upcoming videos. It's just such a great resource that Trevor's built. With that, I think we want to thank our sponsors again. We've got, again, IntelliMagic, Broadcom, Data Kinetics, and Planet Mainframe. Great partners. And Trevor, before we go and thank Colin, do we have any other announcements?
No, that's all. I'd just like to thank everyone who's attended today as well, because that's very important that you're here and get something from these sessions.
May I just say that the next session in 3 months is going to be delivered by Ezreal Gross. He's absolutely brilliant CICS presenter. You don't want to miss that. He's excellent. I've known Ezreal for 15, 16 years, and he's just absolutely brilliant. So don't miss that one.
Awesome. Well, Colin, thank you again for your presentation today, and thank you everyone for joining us. And Trevor, thank you for letting me join in on the fun today. And I look forward to seeing everyone on July 11th.
Now, we have got one question come up, which you may not see. Diana Blair's asked, will you email this presentation to us? In fact, we won't email the presentation to you, but it will be on the website for people to download at any time you like. Yeah. And Colin said he'll send that to me tomorrow. So it'll be on the website tomorrow at about this time.
Yep.
Okay, I think that's it then.
Great.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Trevor.
Okay, cheers,
Bye-bye.
Colin.